this ASMR ramble video, I'm going to do another haul video. I had a bunch of decks that I did not show in the last one. Just an FYI, I know I have too many decks. Well, let me say this, I don't know that there is too many. I'm such a American, I guess. But I would say I am aware that I tend to sort of get out of control when things are really super insane, and they had to been, and finally, I think things are going to, if not calm down, be like a shit ton calmer than they had been. So I'm hoping this past like month and a half is like, you know, puts this on cool for a little bit. Not to say that I'm not purchasing decks, like I'm not doing some no buy, low buy, but that it can be more conscious so that I don't, you know, spend all my money on decks, whatever. So I'm just more saying that self-consciously because people might watch this and be like, what the hell's wrong with this person? But the good thing, I think, personally, is that even more than like, I used to do this with books. Like I'd buy like a ton of books if I was, you know, feeling whatever for that, you know, for that dopamine hit. But I have a backlog of those because I don't necessarily have a lot of energy to read them at the moment. But they also, a lot of them, it's like I'd read once and that's it. Whereas one thing I do like about tarot and oracle decks is they get used over and over again, and even if they get used for a little bit and then don't get used for a while and then get used again, it's a collection, you know, like some books are collection type books, but at least with the decks, they're collection. And as Riffle in Time said the other day in a video, actionable art. So there's something you can continue to interact with. So that's the only thing that at least gives me like some consolation in my obsession. But so that being said, I'm going to show a lot of decks today. I'm going to try to like show not some of them, like show like if they're a group. So like there's one where there's like 7 decks in the set. So I'm just going to show you like one deck and then let you know that there's others. And then there's a couple I'm not even going to show. And there's a few you've already seen that have showed up in various little videos. Or if you haven't seen them, just like FYI, they're in one card pulls or in other haul videos or, you know, showcase videos, that kind of stuff. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So right here, if you haven't seen one of these videos before from me, what I'll do is I will, you know, show the box, the guidebook, a few cards, and then like read the guidebook for one of the cards. Because I have so many decks, I used to pull like 10 for each. I may only pull 5 or even less, depending on the time. And yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. I do also want to show, before we get started with the decks, these dice I had in my last video, my last haul video. I said I was going to show them and then I didn't. But I think people might be interested in these. So, especially for those who play D&D. I don't. I'd like to, but I don't. I got these from an Etsy shop, and they have different, like one of them is like weather. So it's like basic things like clear, rain, winds, storm, and you can roll it and get that. The other one's like extreme weather, so flood. What is this one? Well, this isn't really weather, but extreme event, natural event, earthquake, eruption. And then this one's like different land forms, like forest, jungle, mountains. So like if you're building, I guess if you're like a dungeon master and you're building your worlds, but I like them for a couple things. One, I thought they might be just interesting if I use like my tarot cards for like some storytelling. But I also personally thought they also might be nice for, I like to keep track when I go on my hikes of like the weather or the temperature or things like that, or yeah, is there a thunderstorm? And so I thought sometimes I forget, but if I could, when I get home, turn this to whichever thing it was, then that would help me remember. But anyway, I thought they were cool. I was getting some for my niece, like a whole big collection of different cool different dice from this shop, and I saw these and I went ahead and these three I got her a whole bunch of other ones, but I got myself a copy of those three because they were just too cool to pass up. So I'll make sure the link's in the description. But let's get on to our deck. So the first deck I'm super excited about, the European Goddesses and Spirits Oracle deck. Now this was on Kickstarter, I believe last year or the year before. I backed it and then I canceled. Backed it, canceled. Was trying to be, control myself. Finally did actually cancel, so did not back it. And here's the backs. And then I don't remember if she just couldn't have them sent to the US or if that happened after the crazy tariffs started. But here we go. Hecate, Ron. But anyway, they were on her Etsy shop, but she wasn't sending to America, and so I was super bummed out because, I had decided I was ready to sort of pull the trigger. And I've looked for a while on eBay and Etsy and other things, and I hadn't seen it, and then just sort of on a fluke, I went ahead and searched eBay again, and it came up. Someone was selling both the deck, which comes with the cards, as well as this guidebook, which is already pretty full. But she also was selling, and this I was glad because I actually did one of both, was the larger companion book, which goes into a lot more detail. So let's read Scotty. In this case, let me look at the smaller book because she does have a lot for both. I think I'll just read you from the small book. So it says, Scotty, boundaries. Scotty is a resolute goddess who clearly communicates what she wants. After her father's death, she openly confronts the Aesir demanding compensation. In the marriage to Njord, she does not shy away from asserting her needs. Scotty knows how to make her expectations clear and how to set boundaries. Setting boundaries means establishing a basic set of guidelines for healthy interactions with other people. They designate what behaviors you deem acceptable or inadequate and how you are going to respond when someone crosses the line. Boundaries can look differently depending on various factors such as the social situation, past experiences, or cultural background. How do you define your personal boundaries? Do your boundaries feel balanced, or do they need adjustment? Are they too open or too rigid? Scotty challenges you to reflect on your sense of agency over your physical and mental space, your body, and your feelings. If you find yourself frustrated or stressed after agreeing to something, or being frequently disappointed by people and endlessly ruminating about past situations in your head, it may be time to redefine your boundaries and act on them. Establish what is important to you and to pay close attention to your emotions and reactions. Setting healthy boundaries can be hard, and maintaining them can be even more challenging. Scotty can be a supportive partner in your endeavors. Call on her to lend you some of her assertive and confident energy. Remember that no is a complete sentence. Trust in the process, be gentle and patient with yourself, and stay consistent in your efforts. And then there's some questions. What different kinds of boundaries do you know? How do you define those boundaries in your life? Where do you need to set boundaries for yourself? buying decks? How can you maintain your personal boundaries? How can you detect and respect the boundaries of others? Personally, one thing that I was actually doing earlier. Oh, by the way, in this deck, some of the women, some of the goddesses don't have eyes. Well, they have eyes, but they're like whited out. It was actually part of the reason why I kept going back and forth too. That was the other reason, if I'm remembering now correctly, was both financial and then also I couldn't decide because like I don't like it in decks when they don't have eyes. But actually more of the cards than I thought they actually do, and I'm glad. I think it's a good deck. I don't want to work more with it. Yes, these shouldn't have eyes, or they're whited out. And I think, I'm not sure, I need to look more into it. It may be that they're done that way intentionally for those goddesses who are said to be able to like see, you know, like into like the future or the past or things like that. I'm not sure. But oh, in terms of their questions in that book, I was thinking earlier what I did is I got a new journal because what was I gonna say? I'm gonna do summer tarot next because as someone who's journaled for 15 years or something, pretty, you know, like I'm not an everyday journaler, but I journal like all the time. Like it's just something I do until October. I've mentioned this in a lot of videos, and I've tried again and again. So finally I saw someone was talking about Hobonichi cousin journals, and I think I was looking for someone doing a tarot journal, and I was like, oh my god, there's this journal where you could use it as an actual journal and tarot journal and in all these other ways. So I actually went ahead and got one. I actually wrote an entry. I'm about to cry. I wrote an entry yesterday. I'm very excited because when I first started journaling back in as a kid, you write some diary entries, but seriously journaling back in 2008, part of what got me to do it was I had bought, I think my boyfriend at the time had a moleskin calendar, and that paper was just like glorious. And so I got a journal, and it was like the paper itself called to be written in. I mean, it's like so aesthetically pleasing. And so that was one reason why I thought, the Hobonichi, from what I was seeing, I was like, this might actually be like really aesthetically pleasing to me. Like this thin paper, though, that even though it's like really thin, like takes ink really well, and like you can do all these different things with it. It's neat. You can get a cool cover. You can reuse the cover every year. So anyway, super glad that's there. But this does have to do with the European Goddess Oracle, which is, earlier, I decided I'd use one of the things in the back. There's like an area where you can put like, a list of something. Well, I started listing out all the decks I've already gotten this year. And it's mid-February, towards the end of February. It was obscene. So I started to think, you know what? Maybe that list, I'm not going to not buy, right? I mean, if I don't have money, sure. But I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm on a no-buy kick. But what I can do is, as I'm getting more control back over myself, is one, use just that control that I'm getting back over myself, but also by seeing that list and there's still empty spots, knowing like, okay, you are allowed to fill in the empty spots, but you either can't go beyond that or you can't go much beyond that. So I think actually being able to see it sort of written out might help me in terms of control. You know what I mean? Like sort of give me more pause. Because sometimes that's all you need is enough of a pause. So this is the summer tarot. Comes in a nice little box. It does have a guidebook. And the guidebook is in Chinese and English. And for the majors, there's a nice little paragraph. and for the minors, there's 2. So let me just show a few. So we have the Hanged Man, 6 of Cups, Seven of Swords. I really like the sort of like anime style. 7 of Wands. And 10 of Swords. Like I said, I'm just going to show a few from each. And let's read 10 of Swords. I can't remember where I saw this deck first. I've been watching a lot of different videos, different tarot tube people that I hadn't before, and have found a lot of interesting decks. And I've been paying more attention to like Vermilion, which I had bought decks from before, but there really are some neat things that show up there. 10 of Swords. As the bell rings for the final exam, the long and painful days come to an end. We no longer linger in the past entanglements, pains, and struggles. As spiritual wisdom and strength undergo a qualitative leap, we also embark on a higher pursuit. It's more meaningful to see hope than to dwell in pain. Upright, endings, new beginnings, transformation, grief, struggle, avoidance, unwilling to end. I think for me, this actually really speaks to me because when I was starting my journal yesterday, I wrote about my kitty, but that wasn't the part about pain. I mean, that was painful, but that's a good kind of grief, as I would consider, quote unquote, a good kind of pain, a meaningful kind of pain. But I was trying to think about how I would write, or if I would write about all the stuff that has been going on for the past 3 years, and especially, waiting these past few months, and how much I would focus on what happened versus where I'm going. And, I do want to note some of the things that happened, but I also want to be able to sort of set that behind me, if that makes sense. So, not ignore that it happened, but make sure my journal isn't just like a lamentation, because I think that's part of, what's good about getting a new journal. It's just in a totally different journal, like almost down so many G's, like it's a new pleasurable kind of journal while also being just a totally fresh start. And the other thing I am proud of myself, though, it's a weird flex, is even though I was having a hard time controlling myself, I at least tried to focus it on decks that I'd been wanting. So like this is the Little Ghost Oracle, and I actually got, oh, and this is where I was saying like I might just show one, but note the others. I did also get the Happy Ghost Slenderman and the Blue Tarot, as well as Tarot Renard. So I at least tried to like focus it on like ones that I had like super wish list kind of decks, because it's like if I'm gonna drop the money, it might as well be something that's gonna last, not just some random deck I saw on Amazon or something. So here are the backs. So this is from a French artist, or these are from a French artist. I'd seen them a lot over time and just really liked them. And she has both French and English. So beginning, leading, eating. It's a nice kind of Christmassy deck. Imagination, or holidays, because I guess there's other holidays in here. Surprise. And I'll just do one more. Let's do from the back. Mind. It's a very pretty deck. It's got kind of different, like, I don't think it comes across here, but so you can see he kind of glimmered, but he doesn't just glimmer, he kind of I don't know what you'd call it. Like there's some relief on the cards. So super excited about these. Oh, let me do the read for that one for mine. So go easy on me if you're like, what? Why did you buy 1,000 million decks? I mean, not that it's anybody's business, but I'm obviously putting it out there in the world. And I do still share these because, like, I want to know if people want to know more about the deck. Let me know. I'll do individual deck walkthroughs. So here's the guidebook. There's not a huge amount, but there's also these cute little. I wish that was like a stamp, like a rubber stamp. Keywords: thinking, mind, thought, elemental, air, temporality, water. This ghost advises you to think before acting. Well, I could use that. You need to put things down quietly to put up frames and structure. The situations must be analyzed and studied, putting aside your emotions in order to have a clearer vision of what you are living. Any activity of the mind is recommended by this ghost. Well, hopefully the activity of the mind can be being able to journal again. Or at least, like, the other thing I liked about the Hobonichi is, like, the feeling that I could journal, but also not necessarily junk journal, but, like, you know, put a bunch of stickers or just different things that maybe I'm not, I maybe did some, but not like a ton, but might help me kind of bridge the gap between not being able to write and being able to write again. Because it's really important for mental health. I'm just dropping things. I know for me, I know that's true for a lot of people, and I know for me, like, I think it's probably saved my life on multiple occasions, like genuinely saved my life, like in most literal terms. So it's something that I really do need for self-care. All right. Let's see. The next one was this one. When I was young, I got 2 of this artist decks. I got that one and 49 Shades of Mind. I had my, and again, this is what I'm talking about. I'd had my eye on their deck home for years. I don't remember when it came out, but I've had my eye on it for years and never did it. I just sort of assumed it'd always be there for some reason. And it's sold out now. And so I was like, okay, well, look what other decks they have out there. And home was gone, but there were these 2. There was a third one that was out, but I didn't particularly like it. It had this like character who had like apples for a face, and I didn't like it. So it's got gilding. This one does not come with a book, and but it has these like phrases. Free your mind, possibilities follow. But I really love the art. Imperfection is life. Some of the decks do, like the other deck does come with a small guidebook. Essential, not prominent. It reminds me of the little print. I wonder if that's on purpose. What is essential and invisible to the eye? There's the rose. World off, wander on. Let gut be your guide. So anyway, it was one again that, like, I really liked this person's art. I had my eye on a deck that's now, I think, I don't know if it's permanently out of print, but it is at least out of print for now. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go for it. Yeah. So I did. I'm in trouble. both my boxes today. But to be fair, there are some that, like, they're real tight. Like, there was one box I made sure to open before I was even on camera because, I'm trying to decide where to set things. Because, I was like, well, it's going to take forever to open that. Okay, let me move this over here. This one, I think, I'd seen this on a few different channels. I'd also seen it online and had been interested in it, but after seeing it on a few different channels and people really liking it, I decided to go ahead also and go through it. So it's a nice box. It comes with a guidebook that's almost like, it almost is kind of like a little scene in terms of the, like, it's just like a stapled booklet. And here's the backs of the cards. What's kind of cool is it doesn't just do, like, you know, like a story, which it does, right? Because it's kind of like in a manga style, like graphic novel kind of. But it also has the keywords at the bottom. So this is for the magician. Be bold. Keywords or phrases. And so we have the King of, looks like wands. It says CEO. So I think that's kind of cool. The Three of Wands, exploration. Let's see. The Sun, vitality. So I just thought that was neat, especially for someone like me who, you know, doesn't know things in and out. It helps someone like me to be able to, like, access it. One, the sort of story in the card, but also that it talks about it. So here we have craftsmanship. So let me go ahead and read for that one. Let me see if I can zoom in a little. There we go. Craftsmanship. 8 of Pentacles. And it is in both, I think it's Thai. I have to double check, but English. Yeah, see, like, if you go through it, it's English on one side, kind of like all of these decks. One side is, or the way I think most of the decks I've shown so far is, each language is on a different side, like they're not on the same page. So 8 of Pentacles, craftsmanship. Practice, skill development, improving work quality, dedication, effective learning, discipline in work, mastery of art, commitment to goals, hard work leading to success. So this one is sort of all keywords, all key phrases, and then, you know, the cards themselves tell a story for that, to try to encapsulate that particular meaning. So, very cool, especially I think for, I guess it could be for either beginning or experienced. You know, beginning in that, again, like, it's not just relying on symbols in terms of, like, oh, you know, a dog is symbolic of blah blah blah, but it's actually like showing it. So if you're not someone, again, who knows things in and out, it gives you a way to get to know the cards better. So another one I got was the Blood Nightmare Lenormand. I don't think I've showed this yet. It is, I think, by the same artists who did the Sleepwalker series, which I showed both the Sleepwalkers. I've shown that in my Lenormand. I did both the Nightmare and the Dream one, as well as done some one card pulls. They may or may not have posted yet. So there are 2 editions. I think the only difference is the borders and maybe the backs. But we've got Night, Clover, and I liked the borders, so Ship. So it's a much darker. Lilies. But I just like this person's artwork a lot. And they do, I think they called it the Rana system. So there's like 4 extra cards. So there's a bed. It's one of them. Stars, we'll leave it at that. And let's see. And the guidebook is also in, I believe, Chinese and is there English? Yes, there's also English. So let's see. This is stars. Meaning, hope, guidance, dissemination, and internet. Interesting. Networks. Oh, because I guess networks. Networks. Spread. Occult. Illusion. Oh, they also have creative concepts for each card. So the stars card usually stands for guidance and vision. I painted the stars as a glowing candelabrum. The angel atop the candelabrum faces the star looking toward the future. This is a card full of energy and hope. I really like that. I love it when creators talk about their vision of how they got the images they did, and especially I feel like in Lenormand decks you don't really get that often. You're usually, if you're given anything, you're just given like a keyword card, or at least my experience. So yeah, so that's the Blood Nightmare one, and the box too is different between the different editions. Okay, so this next one is one that there's 7 of them. Now, I thought about just getting like 1 or 2. I saw this on a new person. They've been here much longer than I have. And someone's channel I had never heard about, and I can't remember their name. But if I remember to put it in the description, I will. And she was showcasing these, and I was very enamored. Got them through Vermilion. And again, Chinese and English. Purity. And there's 7 decks. They're all called Enlightenment cards. Each one is done, I think, by a different artist. So all the boxes are like this. They have an image in the front, and then the insides. There's keywords at the bottom. Each one has kind of a different vibe. And then they come with a guidebook. Well, again, Chinese on one side, English on the other. But these just seemed really neat, and she was showing how, like, they all have the same back, but different color for each one. And she was talking about how you can make sort of a mega deck if you wanted to. And yeah, so they have these different, in each deck, it's not the same keywords for each deck, they're different keywords. Actually, let me go ahead and pull a second one just so you have an idea. This one I was able to get if you did if you got them all, like did the whole set, it was discounted, so I just went ahead because I know myself enough to know, like, if I got 2 and just really liked it, I'd be like, oh my god, I want to get the others. And I wouldn't have gotten the discount, so I might as well. So here's one of the other ones. This one is called Fast. And you can already see, totally different style. Loss. Cooperation. There may be some words that overlap, I'm not sure, but imitation. Let's see if there's rapid. So let's go ahead and read from that one. And see here, back. exact same design, different color. But like I said, so there's 7 of them. You know, the link will be in the description so you can go check out, see if you like them. You know, you may like only one, or like them all, or like some of them. Even the one, I'm actually really glad I got all of them too, because even the ones I thought from like walkthroughs, I was like, I don't know about that art style. I actually ended up really liking. So let's do this one, Rapid. Number 11. Take action in a rush without hesitation. This must be something urgent and necessary, or what we expect will happen soon. This is also a reminder that the habits of procrastination, laxity, and slow progress need to be changed. Enlightenment words: speed, hurry, immediate, speed up, change. If you've watched my channel, you know I am a newbie to pairing, but my instinct tells me that these are good decks for that, because they have these different cool images and striking like colors, but they also just have a keyword, you know, so like if you just added, it's a way to add a keyword while also adding like it's something like visually stunning. But these were an example of boxes that are hard to like, they're very tight. That's the only thing I'd say I don't like about them, is the boxes are tight. But I think they all have gilding of various types. Don't quote me on that, but I think they do. So that's that one. I know I'm going quick, but I'm trying to, I know I tend to go kind of over, and I have so many I want to be able to show, that I want to at least be able to show a few cards from each. And I feel like doing pretty good. And this one I just saw on someone's channel, and I'm sorry I went out and got it immediately, called the Sea Glass Tarot. Now, this is one of those decks that I think it's been around for a while. Never heard of it. Which again, like, who am I? Nobody. So why would I have necessarily heard of anything? I should, right? Like, it's not like I'm some tarot expert, but I know I've said this before, I'm just always amazed at how many wonderful, beautiful decks are out there, especially these indie decks, that even if you're totally into the scene, you know what I mean? Like, I have a nice, robust collection at this point, and I look in all the quote-unquote right places, you know what I mean? I'm on YouTube, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Kickstarter, I Google, I do it, like, I'm listening to other people, I'm trying to get, you know, Pinterest. I found ones just looking at on Pinterest. And there's still stuff that just like shows up, and I'm just always amazed. And this is one of those ones where I'm like, why is this not getting? Maybe it did get to like, you know, what do you call it? Like airtime. It deserved at some point. I don't know. But it's one of those that I feel like should be out there. It's beautiful. It's got this like opalescent quality. So it's not like, I think that's kind of one across. It's not just like, what do you call it? Gilding kind of stuff. It's actually really is like, I would call it opalescent. And for me, as someone who is from an area that is near the Gulf of Mexico, I don't live there now, but it reminds me of that. So yeah, so this is the Sea Glass, and this just came in today, so I don't know much about it yet, but those are the sides. It does come with a small guidebook, very thin, but it does actually have a fair amount for even the minors. I like it when people do that, even if they don't have a lot of space, they make sure to like include things. It says Ten of Swords. The suffering finally comes to an end via betrayal, defeat, or simply expiring. A moment that is as painful as cathartic. The whale, riddled with missiles, washes ashore while dying, the waves sweeping gently over its husk. Reversed, revival, recovery, or not ending with finality. And the thing that's cool too is she makes sure to, she bolds, like put the main image in there, like mahi-mahi, Adele penguins, different potentials, sea lions, starfish, so that when you're looking at the image, you're like, oh, that's what I'm looking at. You know, like you usually know, oh, okay, this is penguins, but you might actually find out, like, what species of penguins or what type of starfish. So that is the sea glass. And like I said before, and I'll make sure this is written in the description, if you want to see any of these decks as a larger walkthrough, I have lost my box. As a larger walkthrough, this is insane. Where did it go? There it is. Let me know, and I am more than happy to do so. All right. So I've shown that one. Shown that one. I did get a couple decks from Riff one time. She was having like a second, or not second, like a used sale. And I have had my eye on Mimic since the moment I saw it. And so when that was one of her decks, along with the big book, I was like, yes, please. So I got that along with the Graveyard Oracle, which I'm not going to show, but that was, and she had the mini, which is fine. And I'm actually not going to even show this one in any detail other than to show you the front and the back, because it doesn't come with a guidebook. It comes with this sort of art book that talks about like the story, like the world that these mice are in, which is cool. And that's kind of why, like, I never had bought it before. Like, I really had my eye on it, but it was kind of pricey, and so I was like, but it doesn't have a guidebook. So but I'm glad she had it for sale, because I got it at like a decent price and was able to get the art book. So for me, that deck's probably going to be more like, oh, this is pleasant to look at, this is fun to look at, you know, if I want to kind of escape to a different realm, versus something that I would use on like a regular basis. The next one is the Mythologia Finica Tarot. This is a mass market from Rockpool. And I also saw that most of these were either things I had my eye on or is on someone's channel. Our channels are dangerous, and I just feed straight into it by making my own videos. So here's the backs. And then, so it has both the card, the tarot card, as well as like the sort of what the images of Folk of the Graveyard. I'm not even going to try to pronounce these names. Oh my goodness, those guys are wild. But I thought the artwork was really cool. It reminded me a lot of like an indie deck. I don't know if it started that way or not, but let's do White Deer and Knight of Swords. I'll read from that because it comes with a really nice, robust guidebook. Rockpool always seems to. Nice, you know, full pages, nice design. All right. Nine of Swords. Trust, the right way, journey, and enjoying life. Those are like the keywords, key phrases. A white deer was a mythical creature capable of traveling between two worlds. It led to new paths and adventures and new levels of consciousness. A symbol of purity, divinity, and awakening, the white deer had a special stature, for white animals were thought to be sacred. To the Sami people, a white doe was a bringer of good luck, believed to increase the herd's number, and they were sacrificed to gods associated with sky and wind. The hunt of a supernaturally fast elk or deer was a common legend throughout the world, as was the white deer. A well-meaning guide, it was also seen as a symbol of light, spirituality, and nobility. The deer could be elusive, and sometimes hunters were left chasing it for eternity. According to folklore, the line between human and animal was fickle, which is why skilled shamans and sages could assume the form of a deer when traveling the mountains of Lapland. Message: the deer symbolizes kindness, caring, and gentleness, and is always vigilant to spot danger and to flee. A fawn must learn to walk soon after it's born so it may escape predators. This card refers to the detection of life's dangers and making quick decisions. It warns against sinking into a false sense of security so you won't be surprised. Deer also wander long distances and live freely, which could refer to a journey or a change of scenery. White deer refers to a spiritual journey during which the deer will act as a guide. The deer is connected to the ability to operate on two different levels, the physical and the spiritual. These levels are not contradictory towards each other, but support one another. You may make use of your spiritual capacity when faced with the boundaries of the physical world. So that is the Mythologia Finnica Tarot. Alright. Still going strong. We're getting towards the end because, like I said, there's a couple of things I didn't show, and then there are a few where it's like they're part of a, the Boussage or whatever from France, for instance. Another thing, this was on sale, was the I Ching Oracle Snake. I think it was on sale for like $20 or something. And I've been looking for an I Ching deck. I don't know anything about it, and so I wanted to, even if I wasn't using the deck yet, I wanted to have access to one. And so I got this, and then I went ahead and bought Benabel Wynn's I Ching. What's it called? I Ching, I have it right here. I Ching the Oracle. This is out of Vermilion as well, and I think it is, they might be doing one for like each of the years, like the Chinese New Year, the different years. So the backs are really pretty. But I just really liked this one, and it was on sale too, so that made it extra nice. And I liked that there was like a keyword, and I haven't learned, this is more sort of a deck where I'm like, I anticipate learning more about, and like I said, wanted to go ahead and have the resources to do so. So like Benabel Wynn's book and a nice deck. And I will put another YouTuber in the description who actually inspired me to look into I Ching. Like, I knew it existed, and I'd kind of like seen a deck here or there. But she had a neat way of doing it where, like, you didn't, I buy a lot of stuff, right? But where you didn't have to buy a lot of stuff, she inspired me to look into it further. There's just a little booklet that comes with this one. And so I'll put her link in the description. I'll try to put all the links, so like even the people I can't remember if I can find the video I saw it from, I won't link necessarily the video, but I'll put the names of the creators. Here is another deck I got at Vermilion. The other thing one thing I do like about Vermilion is if you get, I think it's 3 decks, you get like 12% off. So if there are any decks that you're interested in, it's like, okay, I'll go ahead and get 3, instead of being like, well, maybe I just want this one. If you're pretty sure you want the 3, go ahead and get the 3, because you're gonna save money. Or not, okay, you're not gonna save money because you're spending money, but you're gonna, if if you were going to spend it anyway, you'll save that from having to pay that extra. So there's two different versions of this Exile Tarot. There's the Awakened version and the Silent version, and they're slightly different. They have the same reading, but the way the images are, let me see if I can find an example. Okay, like the Page of Pentacles. In the Silent version, a lot of the faces aren't faces. I believe it's either made by the same people who did the Monsoon Tarot, or has a similar art style, because it's like they have sometimes like stars for faces and things. That really disturbs me. I don't like that. Which is one reason, like, the Monsoon Tarot looks so good, except when I see those faces, or those lacks of faces, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that. But I thought this one was just really neat. And so I have the Awaken version. And 4 of the cards did come. Here's one example. Here's one of them. The Tower. It did come where it wasn't cut right, but I wrote them, and they almost immediately wrote back and were like, we're gonna send you replacement cards. So definitely like their customer service. The Star. It's a nice card. And so the other difference between that I can tell between the Awaken and the Silent version, here's the Fool, is that beyond the faces, some of the images are different. Like the same general image, but like something about the scene will be different. So I'm going to go ahead and read the Magician, since that's the card of the year. And yeah, both the major and minor have, here's a minor description. Some of them are longer than others. And then majors. And it actually has pictures of both the Awaken and Silent. So like, actually before I read it, here's an example with the faces. So here's the Awaken. He's actually got a face. Here's the Silent. He does not. I'm sure some people actually like that. I know I don't. The Magician. Let the ancient poetry and magic continue. Vision. The great river that gathers all secrets and memories of the universe surges tirelessly. The raging waves keep crashing into the magician's mind. Not only aware of the river's existence, they may draw a stream from its channel to channel spiritual power into physical reality, thereby creating value. The magician is the conduit linking heaven and earth, who can unlock the archaic art of necromancy. Countless symbolic omens manifesting as birds fly out from the right palm, heading to whoever in need of divine guidance or miraculous inspiration. Let's see. Message. A great beginning. This card signifies manifestation and infinite possibilities for further development. Keywords. Physical manifestation of spiritual power, motivation, creativity, preconditions for advancement, opportune times for executing new plans, channels for heaven-earth communication, and outward release of energy. So that is the Exile Tarot. And I don't know if I showed you the sides or not. For those of you who are gilding, I'm a guidebook goblin, but I guess some people are gilding goblins. Okay. Almost there, folks. Almost there. Oh, I left the eye chain closed. I like to keep one card out for each thing that I can kind of show at the end, just because I think it's kind of pretty, and it's also a good picture to use for the like for the thumbnail. Alright. The last one I'm gonna show is the Tarot Renard. I know I'm probably mispronouncing that. I don't speak French. I love wild dogs, so Fox is definitely part of my jam. And this was a deck too, like pretty much all of these that I had. Here's the guidebook that I had in my mind for a long time. There's keyword, and they're all in French. But nope, no, there's English too. Same with the guidebook. But I'd had my eye on this one, so while I was losing my mind again, I tried to at least focus it on things that I'd had my eye on. The Magician cards are on the top mostly because I've taken a picture of all my Magician cards, or I'm trying to, and I've been putting them in my new Hobonichi in the back, like printing them out and putting them in there. Since it's my card of the year, I thought it'd be really cool to, one, just have them in there, but two, to kind of look and see like what the commonalities are in the decks that I have. Like ravens show up a lot as the representations, wolves and coyotes a little bit, and then all kinds of various other things. So just different variations on themes. You know, some were, I'm not, like, I don't have the Rider-Waite Smith deck, so I'm like not super familiar with the imagery in general, but there are cards that over time I've learned, you know, like, and so like, you know, like the Three of Swords with the heart with the three swords piercing it. But the Magician is also one where it's like I'm beginning to get to know the what am I looking for? The like the standard imagery, so being able to tell, oh, that deck at least has some Rider-Waite smithiness to it, versus like it's just really taking its own interpretation. Let's see. I'm trying to see. How about this? King of Wands. Let's look that one up in the books, or in the book. King of Wands, where are you? Okay, we got Pentacles, Wands. Oh, they're done by number rather than, so like queen, all together, king. 1111. Okay, so King of Wands. You always find a solution to make your inspiring ideas real. Your leadership is based as much on your past experiences and what you learned from them as on your boldness. You inspire those around you by mastering that powerful energy and being inventive. So anyway, I love this deck. It's beautiful. It's actually way better than I even thought it was going to be. Super excited. So like I said, I know I've got a problem. I kind of had it under control, or like for me under control, and things started spiraling again. But I'm glad at least with this spiral I was able to like focus it more on just like, is this a deck I'd had my heart on for a while versus something that's just sort of passing fancy. All right, so that's it. If you want to see any of these decks in more detail, let me know in the comments. I can do, you know, comparison ones. I can do just a walkthrough of one deck, you know, like a single deck, if that's what you want. Let me know if you have any of these decks and what you think about them, how you use them. If you've gotten any cool decks recently and want to share, I'd love to hear about that. And basically, yeah. And I'll make sure there's links to everything, regardless of if it's in print, out of print. Most of these should be in print. Some of them, like the the European goddess may or may not be currently available, although it's so hard to know. Like, I think this was it today that the Supreme Court was in the United States, that the Supreme Court was like, tariffs, you can't do this. So like, are there tariffs? Are they going to continue? Like, who knows? So anyway, I just don't know if it's gonna be available or not. So I just wanted to put one down here for each of the things as I finish talking through this. The other thing I'll try to make sure to do is put, that one's so pretty, I want that on top, is put links to the channels that where I have seen these, where I've seen these decks, because, you know, you guys should get to know, if you don't already know those channels, like, they're awesome, and also, like, some of those are gonna have a lot more of a run through than I can give. Okay, there's so many decks, it's gonna be impossible to do this. This is insane. Alright, there's just gonna be a lovely mixture of random pictures here. Alright, I have 2 more. This does not include the cards that it did not actually show. This is insane. Alright, yay. This is just like a weird puzzle of cards. So, thank you for coming today. I hope you saw some decks that you might go check out. Like I said, let me know if you want to do walkthrough of any of these, and I'll have all the links in the description, as well as some links to different channels that have been helpful, that I've found some of these from. And yeah, and there, like I said, I have a couple others, but most of those have either shown in one card pulls, or they'll show up in one card pull, like I've already filmed them, or they will have already been shown in other ways, like the Lord of the Rings comparison one I did. And so I'm glad to go ahead and do this, because some of these I want to like sort of put away on my like, not just have them in a pile on the floor waiting to be videoed, but actually have them on the shelf. So thanks for coming today. This was long, but actually shorter than I was afraid it might be. And I hope you have a good day, good afternoon, good night, and I hope to see you again soon.